Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of The Devil All the Time. The Devil All the Time is a 2020 Netflix original film written and directed by Antonio Campos. We follow a string of various stories, all centered around some corrupt and rather violent backwoods small towns as they work their way toward intertwining in a fittingly dangerous way. With an all-star cast including Tom Holland, which instantly makes me interested, Robert Pattinson, Riley Keough, Sebastian Stan, Haley Bennett, Bill Skarsgård, Jason Clarke, I was instantly really intrigued. And then I heard a little bit about the concept that this was a much darker film, and that made me really excited to see particularly Tom Holland stretch out and get some darker material here. The trailer looked fantastic, and I could not wait for Netflix to release this one. And ultimately, I think it's good, but not great. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. Well, I want to begin with that all-star cast because I think everyone does a fantastic job. Tom Holland is wonderful in this film. What works so well for Holland as this character is that he brings an effortless charisma to the character itself that really roots this person in reality. So when he has to go to darker places, when he has to get to grimier acting, if you will, he has this relatability to him that keeps you from ever feeling like you're watching somebody acting. He felt really grounded. Probably the best performance I've seen from Holland to date, outside of maybe The Impossible. Then we have Robert Pattinson, who plays this sleek, gross, and grimy, crazy pastor. And what a performance. I thought he was just so good. Really chewing up scenery, but in the best ways possible. Bill Skarsgård is also fantastic in this film. He's in it a little bit less than I had anticipated, but he makes great use of every minute he's on screen. Jason Clarke is playing a very Jason Clarke type of little bit gross character as well, but he's wonderful. Sebastian Stan gets to play a little bit different of a character, and I thought he really excelled. Riley Keough, another great performance from her. Really, everyone in this cast delivered and sold this darker, heavier material. And I really like the messaging of the film. We really center hard around the idea of religious fanaticism and how dangerous that fanaticism is, as we've seen throughout our own real life human history, but it's put into effect in these intertwining stories. And from the more dramatic, over the top instances of this fanaticism on display to instances we see pretty often. These ideas of just believing and trusting and going with anything for this idea of God. It was really something to watch and have you think about a little bit more. I will say it doesn't go quite deep enough under that, but it's interesting to see different aspects and different perspectives. I also think the character development with Tom Holland in particular is wonderful. They do such a great job of endearing you to this person, showing you this insanely difficult life that he has been through, and it makes the final act so much more gripping and impactful as you do fully understand this person, even if you don't have necessarily all that much screen time with him up until the events of that third act. I did also like how the stories come together. It is one of those stories where we're following a bunch of different storylines as they all come together and are completely intertwined throughout. And it works really well because we're talking about small towns here, but also it's woven beautifully within the script. Now, I haven't read the book, so I'm not sure how it differs or how it stays the same in that regard, but how it's executed on film is done very well. What doesn't work so well then when it comes to The Devil All the Time? Well, to start off, I didn't really like the narration. Now, I do think it was necessary to get to where we have to go. That doesn't mean I really enjoyed it. I would have enjoyed maybe even 10 more minutes of screen time to cut out this narrative device. It felt really heavy handed to me to continually tell us what these characters were thinking, what they were going through. I wish Antonio Campos had just let us experience it a little bit harder. And I think we would have even gotten more emotionally invested in that third act instead of being guided by a narrator the entire time. I also didn't love almost any of our female characters, and not in a way of them being nice people or relatable. For the most part, they're actually all pretty vanilla saints, to be honest. Here as moral compasses and to just move storylines along for the men in this story. And that's where a big problem comes in for me, is that pretty much every single female in this film is here to move one of the male's storylines along. Riley Keough's character is the closest that comes to actually having something going or having a story, but she's really not given much backstory to who she is. Thus, you don't really care. And that's actually a case for all of these characters. Since we are following so many different storylines, other than Tom Holland, nobody gets all that much development. They don't get great motivations. Once again, if they do have motivations or circumstances do happen, we are given that information through narration. Thus, it doesn't hit as hard, it's not as impactful. And honestly, the structure of the film as well hampers it, because we go through stretches here where it feels like you want to kind of get things moving. The beginning part of the film hits with a bang, and then we go through a pretty long lull just because we're all over the place, jumping back and forth within time. It's not confusing, very easy to follow, actually, timeline wise, but it lends to this choppy type of flow that I found to hamper my interest being fully invested in the film. So overall, The Devil All the Time is a good film. It's a beautiful looking film from Antonio Campos that delivers fantastic performances across the board from a stellar stacked cast. And the message behind the religious fanaticism, as well as how your environment shapes your life, I think are really well handled. And for those reasons alone, I definitely think you should check this film out if you do have Netflix. I don't think it's going to be competing for any awards. It's not great on that type of level, but it's certainly worth your while to give a watch. Now, please do understand there's a lot of violence, there is sexual content, there is suicide, there is animal violence, there's pedophilia. There are a lot of triggers in this film. I would definitely look into that because they don't shy away from showing the scenarios. So if you're not prepared for the rough instances that are to come, they could be quite triggering. So just do your research. So that is my review of The Devil All the Time. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see The Devil All the Time, or have you already seen it? If you have, let me know your thoughts either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!